In this lesson, I want to go over the envelopes. Now, the envelopes are modulation parameters. In other words, you can use them to modulate various aspects of your sound. And you can see there is this plus looking arrow thing here where you can click on this envelope and drag it to a parameter that you want to be controlled by this envelope. Envelope 1 is tied to the amp. This is called the amp envelope, which means that this controls the level of the sound, like the gain of the sound. Now you have your knobs down here, which you probably have seen in every other synthesizer, where you have your attack, decay, sustain, and release, also known as A, D, S, and R. You also have this hold parameter, which will hold it before it decays. So if and also you see as I adjust these parameters, it's also showing up these milliseconds. Now let's say I slow down let's say I slow down this attack, play a note. You also see that fuzzy blue dot showing you where the sound is on the curve of your ADSNR or your envelope, and that is like something amazing about Serum, that you can visually see what is going on. Let's say I want this to just go down. I could do that. Let's say I want to add some hold, so it'll go up, hold, and then go down. Let's say I want to add some release. I can add some release, add some sustain back. Now let go of my key. It's doing that. So let's go ahead and set the decay to something like this. Now what I can also do is I can alt click and copy this shape to envelope 2 or 3. So now envelope 2 has the same shape as envelope 1. So I just alt clicked, option clicked on my Mac, and now it has the same envelope as envelope 1. So that's a useful feature. There's also this option where you have the magnifying glass, and I can click and hold, drag up and down to zoom in and out. There's also this lock button, which will lock your envelope shape to the screen. So even if I adjust this, instead of it getting off screen or getting too small, where I have to zoom in and out, it just stays the same, stays in the same position of the frame if I have this lock key on. So even if I decrease this decay, decrease this release, make it so short, it's still staying all within the same frame. So let's go ahead and undo that. And let me just go ahead and reset this, get these back to the initial preset. Now the envelope 1, I can assign this is also the envelope, so I could turn on the filter and I could adjust the envelope 1. This is the amp envelope, so let's say I want it to be a pluck. I might do something like that. If I want to assign this envelope 1 to the filter, then I just click, drag, and then you've got this plus sign, and then now it's going to modulate this cutoff. Now you can see it has the cutoff, and there's a small little blue dot, which will show you where this where the sound is going. So you can see the envelope, let's zoom in, is controlling this cutoff. So it goes up and down, and then this blue dot, you can see it goes up and down. And that's like also another really unique visual feature of Serum, is you can visually see the representation of the envelope and what it is doing to your modulated parameter. Now, one thing about Serum is that I did this, and now I'm just clicking on this little half circle thing and click and dragging. It's going both directions, so that's bi-directional. If I wanted to go unidirectional, then I'd have to click Shift Option on my keyboard on a Mac, and then click on the cutoff. So now it starts at the cutoff point. So I've got it at 425 hertz, goes up, and then goes back down to that 425 hertz. Otherwise, it was going like to here and here, and it's like you might not know what that is. So this might be useful if for other parameters, but for cutoffs, I usually like it to only go unidirectional. So I can have it go up, or I can click and drag and it goes the reverse. So then it goes down and up. A lot of times you'll be doing something like where it's just a positive direction. Now you can do that, but you don't always have to. You don't have to use this envelope one, this amp envelope to modulate other parameters. Maybe this will be a bit different, and this is something that sometimes I'll do if I want the actual sound to decay out and go away. But I might do something like this where I have the envelope just all the way up, and then maybe I'll just use the envelope 2 and make this one kind of like the pluck and modulate the parameters. And this is useful, like sometimes you don't want the low end to fade out, especially if you're playing like a bass sound. So let me go and remove this. And to remove the modulations, all I did was I right-clicked and did remove. You can also bypass all dimensions or remove all destinations, bypass all destinations, or just bypass, it'll have a list of all the destinations. So I only have this envelope tied to the filter cutoff. So it says I could just like bypass that. And then you see this line is grayed out, so it's not modulating anything. If I turn this back on, so I've got my envelope 1, which is my amp, and the envelope 2, which is adding that pluck. So you can see I'm holding down the sound. I can still hear the sound. The sound is not decaying out. So if I do something like this, I've got the cutoff all the way at 0, essentially, and the sound cuts off because I've got the envelope 2 going up and down. So it's going to go all the way up, all the way down. And I have the amp envelope all the way up, but because we have the cutoff, cutting off everything, we're not going to hear anything. But if I increase this cutoff to, let's say I had it at like 400 hertz, we've got it going up and down, but it's going to stop at 400 hertz. And because I still have this amp envelope playing, like it's not, I don't have it going down, the decay going down all the way. I still have the, or the sustain, I still have it sustaining out. It's going to go up, go down, and still play, and you'll hear the note, but you'll hear it at like 400 hertz or so, like that. So that's something to keep in mind, like as you're making sounds or making plucks. Like let's say I was making a key sound like that, where I wanted to hold out the notes, then I wouldn't want to necessarily start off with this envelope 1, adjusting it like this, and then assigning it to the cutoff, because then it would just do that. But sometimes you can do that. Sometimes it doesn't like make a difference. Sometimes it's like okay to do that. It just depends on like the sound. So you can assign the envelopes to basically anytime you drag it over to a different parameter, you see it has this green and the plus sign. So let's say I did it to the chorus tuning. You can obviously hear what is happening there. I can increase this attack. I can click and drag it so it's going up and down, but I can click, hold, drag it, and now it's going to go the inverse. So I just flipped it essentially. So it goes down and up. I can also do the same thing and do shift and option, click and hold, and now it's going to go unipolar, like that. As I am modulating parameters, as I start adding this and attaching it to different things. So let's say I attach it to the level. Let's say I attach it to this wavetail position. Now you see it has a 3 there. So that means that there are 3 different parameters that this envelope 2 is controlling. And if I right click, I can also see them. So it has the options to bypass this. You can bypass them individually or all at once. It'll tell you the wavetail position, the volume, and the chorus pitch. And we'll get into this matrix later, but this is also where you can see the envelope 2 is tied to these 3 different destinations. And this is also, if you don't know where the modulations, what things are being modulated in your patch that you load up, then this is a way to see what is happening. Is just click on the envelopes. If they have a number attached to them, right click, and then you'll see the tags, and you can go to your matrix. Or also, like if I click on this envelope 1, you see there are no blue indicators because envelope 1 is not modulating anything, but envelope 2, as soon as I click on that, then you can see all the parameters that are being modulated. So that's another thing, is just click on the envelopes if you want to see what is being modulated. So let me go ahead and just remove all of these parameters, and let's just assign this envelope to the coarse pitch. So let me also show you what else you can do. Is you can assign multiple envelopes to one parameter. So let's say I had this envelope 2 and had it on this coarse pitch. And let's go and just make it like, let's just make it go slowly up like that. So I could have that envelope 2 onto a coarse pitch. And then let's say I wanted it to do something else, like with my envelope 3. So I could maybe do this shape on the envelope 3 and then assign this to the coarse pitch as well. And then I can assign more parameters or more adjustments to this sound. So let's say I play it. So you can hear that it kind of goes down and then goes up. So it's like kind of following the envelope 3 and then the envelope 2 at the same time. Going like down and then up again. So there's like a lot of different things you can do with these envelopes, and then we'll get into the LFOs. You can do the same thing with the LFOs. You can have a LFO like and also an envelope attached to your modulation. So you've probably seen me just adjusting this curve. This is also something to keep in mind, is that you can curve out this attack. So let's say I had this envelope attached to the filter. We can hear it doing that. So let's go ahead and make this pretty fast. And if I give it a curve, or curve it this way, we can hear it has a different effect. Or this, more of like almost sounds a bit plucky, but this has a bit of a smoother, rounder sound. So a lot of times as we're making some bass sounds, like for bass house or any bass genres, there's always this kind of like a bit of a curve on the attack, and it's also might control the level as well. Like if I were playing like a bass note, then you can get this like brassy sound by curving out that attack. That is everything that I want to talk about for the envelopes. I will see you in the next lesson.